We didn't quite know what to expect. There was a lot of anger. I don't think Jack Dunnett was here, so we couldn't express any anger against him, although things weren't quite as confrontational in those days anyway. But he wasn't around, so there were types of displays of anger, but generally it was one of sorrow and concern. It was a much bigger than average attendance. We drew 1-1, I think. Great atmosphere. And I felt the bigger gates would come back. And they did to some extent. And there was also a turnstile where you could volunteer to pay more money. People could pay an extra £1 or £2.
Then we had the big meeting on the 23rd when, you know, Peter Pond-Jones got up and said that every member of the club who was a supporter should have a share, and I think that's when that started.
I think before it happened there was a photograph, as you know, taken up here where I think I'm sitting virtually, and if in that photograph I know there was Peter Pond-Jones, who was the chairman, and Eddie Lyons.
It was a cold night, and it seemed a bit surreal really, because we walked to the ground in the usual way as if you were going to see a game, and then it went up to, you know, more or less our normal seats in the stand, and everybody seemed to be taking what was their normal, you know, a lot of season ticket holders, because I can remember there were two twins always sat in front of us that were quite large gentlemen. We used to call them Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I think they're obviously long gone, I would imagine, but you know, they took their very same seats right in front of us, and it was difficult, I can remember, to actually see too much, because you could see people standing up. I mean, the stand is obviously not equipped for a public meeting as such, and you know, you could see Peter Pond-Jones and different people standing up with a microphone, but they were quite a way away. But I mean, the floodlights were on as if there was a game in place, and yet, you know, nobody was coming out on the pitch, so it was a bit of a surreal atmosphere.
And we were behind the fans, and the fans were behind us, and I think it was in the stand. It's still there now. All the director was there, Radley Smith was there, the fans were there, and the players were there. And I think that's when I had to get on the microphone. I'm not sure, because you forget a few things. It's 50, 60 years ago. And I said, you know, very positively, that we want to stay as we are, you know.
I think it was summed up by his opening words. He said, Brentford Football Club has had many shocks, but last week it had a heart attack. And that summed it up. But everyone was determined to do what they could, and eventually they did, although, you know, we have to acknowledge the huge contribution from people like Ron Blindell and Walter Wheatley, etc. But I think what the supporters did was they showed the right spirit, and I think they showed that the club and its supporters group was worth supporting, was worth backing, and I think that's where the supporters really played their part, and indeed the players.
I mean, I can remember everybody sort of cheering loudly every time anybody got up and said, you know, we can save this club and this is what we need to do. I mean, I think all the speakers got some fairly tumultuous applause. And the local MP was here as well, who was, I think, in the same party as Jack Dunnett, and pledged his support. And I think there was various suggestions made in his direction as to what he could do with Dunnett when he got back to the House of Parliament, but probably most of them illegal. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a sort of fighting atmosphere about the place.